Yeah, no problem.
Oh, we gotta work on the budget today.
Yeah. And then,
This is all showing.
I just, this meeting isn't for them. The reason we're here today is because we put so much time into them. So now as volunteers, we have to do extra work. It's like,
Those, you reach me one of those? This good one for Dad, we please, I guess.
Thank you.
nice sweater, Rich.
Yeah, they bring it out. Bring yours too.
I have
We
that
have
same
the
sweater.
same.
Is that Halloween or?
Oh,
Christmas? Yeah, because I have the same color.
That's good.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys, we should have had.
Sweater there.
We should have had.
Thank you.
sweater,
Take-
yeah.
I got this one because it has the wind blocker.
Yeah, exactly.
You said take two pages now.
Did you say take two?
2 pages.
Take 2 pages. What are these, the minutes?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
from the last meeting.
If you want it.
Yes.
Take 2.
Was this from that magazine? She touched up for, magazine.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Unsubscribe us to it. It used to show up in my mailbox too.
I think I have, this is the minutes from last week. Yeah, I have. You have these, right?
Yeah, send them around. People don't read them a lot, so. There's a name there for that book.
Oh,
Pink thing right there.
here's some copies. Is there one from Moose Mountain coming in today?
What?
One from Moose Mountain.
I have no idea. This is an extra meeting to work on the budget.
Oh, right.
Warrant articles.
Yeah.
It's taking us so much of our time away behind that, so.
Yeah.
It's volunteers, we got other people. One of us,
Morning.
team. Rah, rah. Good seeing you.
We have to leave at 10, right?
What?
We have to leave at 10?
I didn't set that up, I didn't get a response.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Yeah, I thought that if we left at 10, we'd be cutting this short.
Yeah,
And,
that's fine.
Friday, I'm out Friday, I got
You
a
get surgery Thursday?
surgery Thursday, it's CAT scan Friday in the afternoon, so it's gonna kill the day going.
Right. I don't think we're in a rush for this week, but
No,
this
no,
week or two, we can figure it out.
I can see if we can get in on Tuesday. I can. Next
Did-
Monday's the meeting.
Yeah.
We'll look for it. Let's get it going. Meeting's called to order at 9:05. Roll call for members. Ed Engels.
Here?
Marshall Goldberg.
Here.
Terry McMenamy. Absent. Gus Stratton. Here. Terry Watt.
Here.
Rick Surratt, present. Rich Sack.
Here.
No alternates to be appointed. Public comments. Any comment?
Nope.
Okay. No announcements, correspondence, mail, training session. Review of possible meeting minutes of November 11th. Everybody's got a copy that Ed brought in for us.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting minutes are accepted. For November 11th.
Thank you.
So first thing, our budget for next year. It was, so 6,500 last year?
You should have that. 6,100.
6,100. So this year to this point, we have salaries, expenses. We haven't made much of a dent in expenses, planning and development, public notices, dues and workshops. We're going to have some legal expenses this year.
What's the difference between planning, development, dues and workshop? Development sounds like workshop or something.
Dues and workshop are the Stratford planning.
Okay.
And planning and development, that would be classes, etc.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Public notices, newspapers.
Yep.
Expenses. Some legal fall under expenses, Rich?
We have it all categorized together under select.
Okay, so we don't, that's not in our budget anymore.
And the 3,000 is for the administrator that we don't have?
Yes. We got two salaries on here.
Chairman.
Planning board chair, that's the 1,200. And the salary planning board, that's the admin.
I think you're switched. I think you're switched under expenditures here.
Yeah, on the actual, it's
Yeah,
flipped.
yes.
So, I'm comfortable letting this remain intact. If we're gonna have, the only thing I can see we can take out if the selectmen want to put back in is the planning and development. Would the selectmen want to do those one at a time, or just leave the $600 in there for us to draw until it's gone?
I'd leave it in there,
Yeah.
and I'd also add $10,000 for a master plan.
If,
That has to be approved by the selectmen, right?
Pardon me?
That has to be approved by the selectmen?
Well,
yeah, we put the whole budget in, and they'll approve it,
Yeah.
or
and
line item.
then the town has to say on it also.
So is that gonna go with one of the warrants?
No, that would be operating.
We could put that in, but just a point I want to make, at the last meeting, we agreed on the 10 grand, and as the conversation went forward, that people were looking at the master plan and saying we could just line item stuff and reduce it ourselves into a basic plan that we could submit.
So
Yeah,
my
yes.
comment was, we've been trying to do this for 10 years or so. We put the money in the budget. If we do the line items and we get it all cleared up, we don't spend the money. But if we don't deliver on it, then we get the help from Stratford Region.
Or in lieu of time and efficiency, we just get the help from Stratford Regional and take it off our table. So it's-
That's an option too, if we put it in the budget, yes.
Was the work in progress files found on the computer?
We haven't found it yet, but we know where it is. We've located our target. We just haven't shot it yet. Zero nine. We have to figure out how to get it logged in, but it's on the 360 cloud of the town website. I don't have credentials to get into it, so. yeah,
So,
we're talking about that.
I would suggest putting it in and take it out if we don't need it before,
Or don't spend it if we get it done.
and it goes back to the town.
You're right, you got two options.
Does it just roll back into general fund?
Once we,
If we don't spend it, it produces taxes. We don't, it doesn't carry over.
It doesn't go back into the expense, it just at the end of the year, we'll buy it on the taxes.
And as the champion of this process and the relationship with the SRPC, I have already communicated that we will be seeking some help. And I have a meeting with her Thursday afternoon. And my strategy is, since I'm also the commissioner's group for that, as Brookfield's representative, and so I've met all of the planners. So I've already talked to towns that might be similar to ours and get some coaching. Because my biggest concern is we haven't really reviewed if there's any change to our vision of what the town should be, and confirm that that's exactly what we want. You know, should we think about, and then leveraging the industrial area of Wakefield to add some industry specifically there to drive some tax revenue. Maybe crazy, maybe not worth, but it's worth a discussion to just talk about it and just decide.
Yep.
And just to clean up, as we've all said, you know, all the zoning. My biggest concern is we don't know what we don't know. And so all of these towns are doing this at various levels. So what are we forgetting in our ordinances? Or what haven't we thought of that other towns have already proactively thought of because they're bigger, so they've gone through more? And to me, that's the question I keep asking all of the people I run into. Like, we don't have a short-term rental statement in our planning or defined it. Not a big deal till somebody does it and it's a disaster in terms of noise, whatever. But that's just an example. I don't know. EV cars, are they going to be here forever? Are they not? But what if people put it into their house and there's not any, you know, did they do it the right way and the house blows up? So again, I don't know what those things are, but somebody in conjunction with talking to a whole bunch of folks, I think that would be of value. So my point at the end of the day is that I will probably try to negotiate with her an hourly rate. So I can talk to Jackson and get the most updated maps and spend probably 15 minutes and get what I need, right? And then report back to her. This is what I'm going to propose. You know, whenever I use your resource, I value it. I'm going to pay you at X per hour, whatever we agree on. And so I will not spend 10 grand, I don't think, because I don't, to your point, I also want to learn something in this process if I'm going to work on it, because I need to be educated myself, you know? So if I have to dig into the detail and understand more, that's a good thing, and it's good for everybody. So anyway.
I think the hourly sounds reasonable. I'd like to see what we have before we commit to, you know, certainly
Absolutely.
more than.
Yeah, whatever we need where the holes are is what we should ask for help.
Your comment addresses something that's been going on around here for a long time. This town's changing. And the culture around here is, but Brookfield was so small and most of the stuff is volunteer. We don't spend any money. I mean, for years, we never even gave the dues,
Right.
the planning.
Right.
So you know, it's, an address to the thing, it's, we're being left behind, so we get left behind as a town, or we leave the old thinking behind and move forward and get the help we need. It's, everything is growing, these things, initiatives and everything are making us put this stuff in place. As a volunteer group, we can use the help.
Yeah.
So, it would be money well spent, it's a good idea. If it miraculously fixes itself, like we seem to always be waiting for things to do, then it goes beyond the master plan.
Right.
Our zoning is a mess. A mess by being non-existent. It's so loose, it's like an agreement between neighbors, and new people are coming in, they're used to having zoning in place.
Right.
We're getting burned by it all the time.
Like Rich always says, you could have an Applebee's on Moose Mountain, if we're not careful.
Right.
Adult entertainment, we don't have anything about that.
That's right, and
Oh, there's an opportunity.
They don't need performance.
by zoning not being existent, those are all possibilities. I mean, they're all possibilities.
Wow.
And we're worried about the sawmill after the fact, you know?
So I would move that we put the 10 grand in the budget for master plan.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, why don't we do that, and then just see what we do have already done, and that will answer some of the questions at least, and then we'll know what we don't know, as you were saying.
We may be able to save some of the hourly rate by finding,
I'm confident we can probably do 80% of this without any help,
Yeah.
right? And I think if we all agree to spend an hour a week or something to just bang it out, I mean,
Yeah, and
Right.
what we do
Not a
is
big
it'll
deal.
get reviewed by someone who's looked at these things a lot.
right. And they wrote our existing one that we have.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
We
So,
have a brainstorming session, does that have to be a public meeting?
Yes. Well,
I guess,
Just to talk about the, like you mentioned, the number of.
maybe I can throw light on that. We can't make it, if it's not a public meeting, we can't make any decisions. And if it's more than 2 people, it's a quorum. So it has to be posted as a public meeting. True?
True.
So the motion's on the table, and all in favor to put the 10,000, request the 10,000 in our budget for master plan.
Aye.
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 I,
Motion carries.
So we're gonna keep the budget the same and add 10 to it?
Yes. So the budget is
1,600?
there's a chicken on here, someone saw that. Budget used to be about $4 grand,
oh, is there?
and we give half of it back. But we got stuff to do. So, moving on, we're opening a discussion on warrant articles, the zoning in particular. Last week, we left off with something about clarifying the 5 acres. Is that putting a statement in the zoning that we already have?
I have that. Here, I'll take a second. There's a couple, I got a couple more coming. This was just my thought on how we can word it. Probably sure the way I look at it. I only have one more, I think.
I'll look.
Yeah. So, the thing, the other one that says number 3 on it,
Oh, okay.
all it does is clarify the 2024 warrant article, which raised the 2 acres to 5 acres. And what I did was basically repeated the language down at the bottom, the last paragraph there. Repeated the language and added the last sentence, which says, for recognized lots existing in force prior to March 12, 2024, which is the date of the meeting, they may still be developed in accordance with current zoning rules, including setbacks. I think that just clarifies that if you had a 4-acre lot, you're still good. Or whatever, 3 acre.
2 acre lot.
2, 3, 4, whatever.
And my comment is, on the warrant, if you see that whole paragraph, the impression is you're voting on the 5 acres again. And what we're really asking is to put the last sentence on the warrant.
Yes.
So I would, the wording is such that I would take it, everything but the last sentence out, and say, is the town in favor of lots that existed before this date, following current zoning?
Yep.
You don't want to have that top section again, because the implication is you're voting on that whole section.
But we could just make it clear that that's the language.
If it goes in like that and they say no,
That's right.
does that mean no more 2 acre lots?
No more 5 acre lots is what it says. That's why you take that out. That's not on the table. The table is the clarification.
We're adding this statement
Yes.
to the article.
Yes.
That's good, yep.
Okay.
The only thing you're voting on is the clarification.
To clarify, Article 1A, 2A.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that exclusion there affect changes in ownership? If somebody were to sell a property, let's say 4 acres?
Yeah. If it's still less than 2, if it's less than 5, if it's not, it's called a non-conforming lot.
Right.
And they continue with ownership. Whoever owns it, owns that lot.
We have those
But
today.
the ownership has to be prior to that date. What I'm suggesting is if the ownership changes after that date, can the new owners, would they get the same grandfather?
It goes with the lot, not with the owner.
Okay.
They wouldn't have to go to ZBA.
No.
They won't, no.
Not unless they want it.
As long as they meet current setbacks.
Yes.
that's- yeah.
Yes.
It really just applies to new subdivisions.
Yes.
Yes.
Subdivisions or, subdivisions or lot line adjustments, et cetera. So what didn't go down in that was and it was written for the frontage in compliance with the master plan that's trying to control development in the town. There's a lot of big parcels still left in the town. And they voted the lot line frontage, they voted that down. So we just leave that alone? Is it arrogant to come back and ask for it again?
Currently, it's what, 250?
Yes.
And if they've got a 5-acre parcel, it still has to be at least 250. That's the way it is right now.
And some public comment we had this year was we didn't do a good job of explaining that.
That's right, that's where this is coming from.
That was,
Right.
people didn't understand what that was all about. So the suggestion from the public was, from one individual, we put it back on and try to do a better job of explaining what it's all about.
The other thing that tanked it, as I recall, it was, had something else tagged on it. I don't have the minutes with me,
We get the town report over here.
the town report, there was something else
See
tagged
what
on
it said.
it with that. When I read it on the ballot, it occurred to me that it should have been separated into 2 articles.
increase the road frontage required in the RA zone from 250 to 400 contiguous feet with access to the lot via that frontage.
That's RA zone?
That's what it says.
Which number was it?
3.
That sounds pretty straightforward to me, except for the word contiguous is probably confusing people.
That's in the zoning in other places too.
Yeah, because you could have, 200, somebody else has 50, and then you have 200. You want that to be both together.
So that was a standalone?
Yeah,
And that failed.
We had 3 articles, right? Planning board,
yeah, we had the class 6 thing too.
class 6 then. That was that wasn't the planning board, that was a petition board.
Citizens, yeah.
And then the other 2, how do they read?
The one is the one which said, the one we were just talking about, which says increase minimum lot size in the RA zone from 2 to 5, require non-hydric soil slopes, whatever. Number 3 was the 250 to 400 contiguous. We had a solar one, and then we had the citizens class 6.
And the 2 that failed was the 400 feet and building on class 6.
Right.
I don't know why the 400 foot failed. I never got any feedback on why people didn't like that. I don't know if anybody else did.
Does anybody even have that circumstance in the town?
Not yet, no. So the issue is we have a lot of large
So
parcels.
why would you vote against that?
We don't understand it, that's exactly right.
Just one more rule, people don't want more rules, I don't know.
I think
It could
The
be
developer-
as simple as that.
the developer can probably squeeze more area favorably to the 250 frontage than the 400.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, they may be the ones driving that opposition.
As I recall, the 400 was kind of a random number too. I think we said because it makes it square property or something. So
Yeah.
what, why is it 400, not 500, not 350? Who knows?
So 400 feet and then a depth for the 5 acres, that made a square?
Is that right, Rich?
That's what
Roughly.
That's what we were discussing, yeah. The 5 acres was 5 times 4, 200,000 square feet. And then you have 400, yeah, it would almost be a square lot.
That's a builder's acre, 40,000, they call that.
Yeah.
What I find interesting about the opposition is if you ever look for property, you'll see a lot of maps like on Realtor.com where they have all of this property that's available, it's undeveloped property. And there are these long, narrow strips, which are very difficult to do anything with. And,
Yes.
so I would maybe argue or present that issue to the public, that they might understand it better if they understand the proportionality of the dimensions rather than just an arbitrary number.
Well, I think that's the thing. Can we write a 1-pager or a half a page that convinces us that this is worth the effort to do, and then we can go for it. But I don't know, logically at a high level you go, okay, fine.
We could add some language that focuses 400 feet on new developments, on large tracts of land still available in town. So that would shed light that we want the large tracts of land, if they get developed, we want them to be bigger lots.
Right.
Everything that's available on the streets now, they're all approved and cut up.
So what's large tract? 100 acres, 50 acres?
How big's that blueberry farm? 500?
It's interesting, if you look at Governor's Road, most of those lots are 5 acres. People take the 5 acres,
Yeah.
and the frontage is 250, maybe 250, maybe 300.
Some of them are really less than that. On Governor Road between 109 and 16?
Yeah.
That was called the Wiggins development. It's not a development, it's not a piece of paper, but one guy cut up all that land.
I guess we should probably research, but something along the lines of 400-foot frontage on tracts of subdivisions of 100 acres or more. You know, whatever, some language like that. I don't know if is that 2 properties in town, or is that like 25, I don't know.
There's huge acreage up on Tibbetts Hill Road.
Yeah, and then you got the McDonald's, right?
The McDonald's, yes.
Stone.
Stoneham Road.
Yeah.
Also, there's one right up on 109.
Yes.
So there's like 4 or 5 large acre.
No, there's more than that. On the north part of town, there's a lot of it yet. Hasn't been developed.
There's a big tract down behind Price Tract. Also, Martin's property is huge behind that.
So who can we ask to get that data and capture it somewhere? Because then wouldn't we want to really think about a section on just large tracts of land and make sure all of we tighten it the way we want to? That's a futuristic view, but.
The thought was to write the article to just focus on it, that the article is for large tracts of land.
Right.
Because that's basically what the concern is.
Got it.
And does anyone recall Wolfborough's residential agriculture? It gets larger as it goes out of town.
Where we abutted up in the Stoneham area, it's all 5 acres, minimum size, but I don't know what the frontage is.
So the 5 acres was a batch
Yes.
to them. The frontage may or may not be. We put that aside for a second while Ed's looking that up. Was there another warrant article that we needed to address?
What are we going to do with definitions? I mean, I tried to go to other zoning in the state to look at definitions, figure we could lift something. I went for full service restaurant, I went for ADUs. I looked those 2 specific things up. They don't have definitions for them in the zoning that I looked at. So I don't know how you deal with it. I guess that's a question for maybe the lawyer. Or do we just put something together and hope it sticks?
That should, we'll address that when we go to see the lawyer.
Okay.
So we're out for this week. We got time available on Monday and Friday, and Ed and I can't get together on either day.
Look at time.
Sorry, I can't find this. The Wolfboro website is like
Yeah.
15 times bigger than ours.
We'll have time to find it before we go to the.
I do have another warrant proposal here.
Okay.
And really what this does is it cleans up, attempts to clean up the confusion we had with the Rexon stuff, permitted and conditional and all that. So the first one is permitted uses. And all it says in the zoning is the following uses are permitted in the rec zone, and then there's a list. So I'm proposing that we say the following uses are permitted, subject to consultation with the planning board and possible site plan review. Just to clarify.
I would strike possible. You can always waive it.
Okay, so that's,
If we're gonna go with that, I would just, it's required unless the board waives it, right? Or say
Well-
unless waived by the board.
okay, we can adjust that. So
Yeah.
the thing that I'm still confused on is there's that list. Half of the stuff they're doing. So what constitutes change of use and when would they have to come for a site plan review? Not clear. So I think if you say you have to consult with us before you do anything, then we may or may not require site plan review. That's why I put possible in there, but we could certainly, if you take possible out, it sounds like you have to do a site plan review for anything.
Or say,
All permitted uses subject to the site plan review.
That you have to do it, or,
Subject to it. Does that mean they have to do it, or?
No, it doesn't.
subject to.
Subject to is perfect.
Okay, or waived by. But it's required unless you get a waiver. Or,
consultation with the planning board and site plan review unless waived.
you threw that out, maybe there's other
Better
better
word
words.
say whether site plan review deemed necessary.
Well, we write these things and she goes through it. Gives it
Yeah.
the test.
All right, so you want me to write something up?
Yes.
And then we'll send that around?
Yes.
And then number 2 was the conditional uses, which, again, it starts with the following uses are permitted by conditional use permit in the rec zone. To me, you can read that both ways. They're permitted now, and they've already gotten a conditional use permit. Kind of implies that. Or you have to get a conditional use permit to do any of these things, which is, I think, our intention. So if we change the language to say, following conditional uses are permitted by obtaining a conditional use permit, and then clarifying which may be a one-time, multiple use, or permanent. So if we want to say, yeah, go sledding, fine, no problem. I don't know if that's conditional or permitted, but whatever. If there's something that's like, sure, do it all the time, you can allow people to cross-country ski up there, whatever.
Do we need it at all?
The conditional use permit,
Yes.
or the list?
The whole thing? Do you need it? In other words, these are the permitted uses?
I don't know why, well, yeah.
End of discussion.
Why do we have a list at all? Right. There's another question.
The conditional use is, the lawyer had mentioned something about that, the way it's written. If you issue a conditional use permit, that's it, that use is permitted now.
Oh, it becomes,
Forever?
Yeah, the way it's written now.
With the property, with the property.
as opposed to, I want to do duck hunting, so I probably should go to the town, and I come to you guys, and duck hunting isn't on either list, so what is that?
The
Is that a
selectmen-
conditional?
Conditional, that would be a permit by the selectmen.
Oh, it wouldn't be by the planning board.
We,
Either one wouldn't be us, it would be the
we-
selectmen.
the planning board as a body doesn't issue
Anything, right,
permits and permissions.
got it, okay.
That's the selectmen.
So we would propose that that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah. Bear in mind that Moose Mountain was residential agriculture, and when it was a ski area, it ran on seasonal permits from the selectmen.
Okay, gotcha.
It was never a rec area.
So we decided to make it one, I guess,
Most
obviously.
people are dead, but it was decided.
So, the question I have, and I guess it's for the attorney, if you guys are going to say here, is the horse out of the barn on the rec area? Right, we had a set of rules, if they start to follow those rules, if we change Appendix E, doesn't matter, is it too late? I mean, you could say everything requires a site plan review, cover it all,
Right.
Here, and no list.
and no list, no list. That keeps it real clean. That keeps it real clean.
Keeps it simple and clean. It's more, they'll be in front of us like every meeting, every other meeting, whatever.
Again, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what what's gonna be proposed that you haven't thought about.
Right.
So you,
Go-kart track,
yeah,
not on the list.
Well,
Right.
in the meetings that we had way before this one, Bob Bordeaux was buying the property. And everybody was over the town hall shouting out all these things that they'd like to see up there, like it was Christmas. That list was developed. I don't recall how it got into zoning.
had to be voted on,
I'm missing that step,
had to be voted on.
unless it was done before, when Janet was the chairman.
We took the non-permitted uses out because it wasn't a complete list. We couldn't make that complete list, so maybe we just wanna just say all activities require site,
Subject to site plan review.
yeah.
Now, that's our only rec area, correct?
Yes.
And we can't really change the rules in midstream, can we? Aren't they kind of grandfathered to some extent?
This is the question.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to change things now. I mean,
We don't know how that would,
well, the conditional uses, disappearing is kind of embarrassing for us, I think. And he brought up a good point, Steve did. I mean, it's like, you want us to, abide by some rules that are not there. And it's like, so I kind of feel somewhat responsible for it.
but it was a clerical error. And there's provisions for that in the RSAs. And the lawyer tells us to just put it in.
It should be in by the end of this week. Online.
So it didn't disappear. Yeah, it's not due diligence to issue the new zoning and have pages missing. It wasn't just that, there was other stuff missing. So we're fixing it.
But can we be a little more flexible because of that error on our part? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, seeing how everybody feels, because, it seems like they are trying to bend over backwards for our rules, even though they seem to be changing. So I don't know how everybody feels about that.
The issue is a permitted use though, not a conditional. And, he has a great point, and that's why I researched it and found it. Like right down here, we went through the archives.
So the way I read what you're saying is, okay, if we forgot to put in the conditional uses, it was a clerical error. So to make amends for that, we allowed them to put in an airport.
That's not what I said.
That's how I'm reading it.
Well, you're stretching it a little bit. I mean,
I-
they're not asking for an airport.
I stretch things out to make a point, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're not asking for an airport.
I know that, but along the logic of what you said, we made a clerical error, the planning board did. And by law, we can fix it, and because we made a clerical error, we're gonna pay a penalty.
I'm just saying, maybe we should be a little more flexible. I'm not saying, give them the keys to the house. That's not what I'm saying. Just try to meet them a little more halfway. I don't know, I'm just threw it out there, making conversation, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Right.
But we shouldn't talk about any cases in front of the board until the public hearing. The way it's supposed to work is we're not supposed to discuss the specifics. We're supposed to hear the testimony at the public hearing.
Right.
And then have our discussion and make our decision. We're not supposed to talk about the pending site plans documentation until after the public hearing, with respect to a discussion of how we're going to vote and what we think. We saw that happen when they were going to put the campground in. Remember, there was going to be a campground over here? And some of the board made comments before the hearing, and they had to recuse themselves.
Was that the tumble down one, or the one on that one?
The tumble one down on the lake. Because the logic is you formed your opinion before you had all the facts presented at the hearing.
Was that the Robbins one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you watch the tape, you'll see people recusing themselves because they had opinions formed before they heard all the data.
You can't show bias.
You're not even supposed to discuss, right?
Correct.
So with that said, we're on a discussion about a warrant to address the recreation area, right? That's what we're talking about.
But we're not talking about the specific activities, right?
Yeah, we are, because we're talking about the ordinance, the law that says we have permitted uses and we have, right? So we're discussing what we should do, because we want to change it, because we agree. It's confusing.
Yeah, but we're not talking about his application, their application.
No.
No, we're not. So what I'm saying is, let's continue
Oh, I agree.
talking about that discussion.
Oh, I agree. I don't think, I agree
I'm with
that.
you.
Well, whatever we do with the warrant, if we do anything, it should not mention any specific activities.
Of course not. It's just for going forward, right?
Right.
But if we said no more lists, you just have to come to us, they've done that. And now we have this
Right.
application in front of us, and if it goes
Done.
past the meeting, it goes past the meeting, we talk about it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, example is what happened last year. We had 2 acres, and we changed it to 5. It was already 2 acres, so lots that are 2 acres remain that.
Right.
So we have a rec area. If we change conditions on the rec area, what happens to what's already present? Do the current owners go by the new conditions, or do they get to stay the way it is? And when the new owner comes in, are they subject to the new conditions? Does it go with the people or the land?
I'm not the lawyer, but I think they submitted an application, everything on that application sticks. If
Right.
they want to do something new after March, whatever, and we change it, then the new rules apply. But what they submitted, they submitted.
Them or new owners.
Hmm?
Them or new owners.
I'm sorry, and I could be.
New owners would have the same condition,
Oh, yeah.
or them.
It goes with the property.
Yeah.
Goes with the land versus.
So I would follow the recommendation, and just say everything's required to review. Keeps it so clean, there's no more discussion of is it or isn't it.
So get rid of the list altogether. Both lists, permitted and conditions.
Right? Isn't that clean?
I think there's no confusion then,
That's
is
right.
there?
And you've done this
Yeah, I
before,
would
what do you
say
think?
there's so many variables when you're dealing with the rec zone, it would make sense to have it reviewed similarly to the solar ordinance, where if they're going to put solar in, you have to come before the board to see with the site plan review, so you know what they're doing. And it makes it quicker, that way you're covering any variability of location and size and scope and everything. At least they can present it quickly, be one or two things, you get through it, and they get their permissions.
Well, if in fact we do adopt this, it would have to be going forward. I mean, their application came in prior to this, so,
We're not changing anything on that. That stays the way it is.
and we're only dealing with one rec zone as it is anyway, so I guess there's no rush to get this warrant changed then, because I don't think they're gonna sell it anytime soon.
And I'd remind you not to talk about the application at this time. Thank you.
So we're developing a list for when we meet with the lawyer, as we build up these warrants, definitions, list of uses. Is it, can we change that to what was discussed, to streamline it?
Then along those lines, it was recommended, at least to me, that we consider for businesses in town. I know we have a selectmen business policy where we have to have a permit. It was suggested to me that that's too weak. Frosty Brewery could have gone a different direction, completely different direction, with respect to entertainment and hours of operation and a whole host of things that we count on the selectmen to control and regulate. And the question that was raised was, should we have site plan reviews for home-based businesses that are outside, that they're not in the home? And that was just a question that was raised. They think we're vulnerable there. The town is vulnerable. They have something come in, and the selectmen may not do an adequate job of permitting it, if you will.
So home businesses are not allowed outside the home, except in an agricultural.
Well, let me paraphrase it. If it's in the home, the town doesn't care. If there's visibility outside the home, you're supposed to come to the selectmen and get a permit. And the idea was you discuss what you want to do, and the selectmen say yes or no, or put some regulations on it. That might be weak. That may not stand up.
Also, noise is in the zone.
Feedback I have on noises, you can talk about it. It's very hard to enforce. It's very difficult to measure and quantify what a loud noise is.
What happened with the wood processing plant? Was that just voluntarily stopped?
What do you mean over on Stone?
No.
Which one? Which one?
Oh, yeah, which one? The one on Lyford.
They voluntarily, I don't know. I don't know.
First they moved it inside.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a history of.
The argument there was when they were processing wood, and if it was cut on the land, there was no issue, but people were bringing material in to process and manufacture firewood. Is that a business or not? That was the confusion there.
I think all home-based businesses have to bring in material to process to make a product.
Not all of them, some of them are all computer-based or whatever.
Yes.
I agree with Rich because I would much rather see, because I don't know if there's no public hearing process with your review of a business.
That's right.
I would feel more comfortable if there were 8 to 9 people on a board like you that was going to have a site plan review and a public hearing on any large or small scale changes to the business property. I would rather that than just 3 selectmen that may not like somebody in town and make that decision without any public hearing, without any review. So I would agree with Rich, it should be written into some formal planning, site plan document.
So for home-based business, would it be reasonable to call it something other than a site plan review and push it back into this process? Home-based business plan, a plan review, home-based business plan review, where you come in, and you want to do a home-based business, you come in and meet this committee and just
It would depend on what the
lay out what you
definition,
want to do.
it would depend on what the definition of site plan review, it might be site plan review, that might be the legal definition you want to use. It doesn't matter what you call it, I just would rather see it on a board written rather than just set 3. That way you're having a public hearing, because that way the people around there, the abutters, would be able to have some say in any, large scale, item, not just leave it up to the selectmen.
In last town meeting, did we put something in about the selectmen review, home-based business? That's still been talked. Just come in and tell us what you're going to do.
No, say get a permit, he said, his words are, get a permit from the selectmen. And to the point, this is a broader board. If it's inside the house completely, we have a bunch inside the home completely, we don't even know about.
Right, we don't care about that.
That's right, that's exactly right. But once it starts going into the neighborhood, do you want input from your abutters?
Unless it's agricultural, which is already written into the zone.
That's a heavy sigh.
Sacred cow.
That's a different topic.
But home-based businesses, we've had instances in town, we know what they are. They've caused noise, concern, and people have complained to the selectmen. And the way the zoning is written, it just says home-based businesses, so people come in and they set up what they want to do, and we don't find out about it until someone complains. Another reaction.
And I'm not sure the selectmen can put restrictions on land use, like your hours of operation or where you're gonna park or whatever. I think that's the planning board, land use. So that was the recommendation we got from the public. Consider, but not for, just stuff that's not in the home. I mean, we don't want to burden everybody. If you got a computer set up and you're working at home or whatever, wonderful.
That's on the list.
Man, this is a 3-pen meeting. Huh?
Worst pet ever.
So is this enough to go in to the lawyer for? To get help on developing these warrants?
I think we have a good discussion.
Yep.
I finally found that Wolfboro thing, it's 400. 5 acres, 400
Yeah.
in the
It is.
Wolfboro RA district.
Does it stipulate whether it's subdivisions or existing lots or anything?
Nope.
But Wolfboro has many different zones, right?
Yes.
That's not for downtown,
No, but
that's for the country.
yes.
It's what they call the residential agricultural district, but then the first sentence says the agricultural district. It doesn't say the residential, so. Clerical error on Wolfboro's part.
So when we go to meet, we're gonna set up a meeting with the lawyer to help the board understand some of these definitions. So if any of the board members, Ed and I are gonna go, and there's enough chairs there, if any of the other board members are interested in going to the lawyer's office when we make an appointment. We don't get charged by the person. We get charged by the, and they do have copies.
So you don't know when that is yet, right?
We don't
That's
know
the-
what it is.
Okay.
I'll send out a note.
So I would get an article that totally dismisses all uses entirely, and they have to come in front of the board if there's going to be any change of use
Not at this time.
or site review.
We're gonna get counsel on that,
Okay.
Where's she located?
Laconia.
Very nice.
Sorry, just one more thing that's interesting, this with the 400 foot, the setbacks are only 30 feet front, 25 on the sides, which you'd think would be a lot more if it's,
5 acres.
Yeah, so they never changed.
no.
No reason for that at this point.
So I'm just curious, if you look at the site plan review document, and at the end it has Virginia's name, right, because it's from 2012 or something. So would you have to write a warrant to change and update the name of the town clerk or whatever?
I would call that bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I mean,
It's not a decision being made.
it's an update.
It's an update.
So I guess we should, there are a few things in there should be
Yeah, there's a lot.
updated, you know?
Well,
But again,
the whole document would have to be updated if we're going to include home businesses in there anyway, right?
I just don't know what, okay, so as long as it's not, it's just updating versus decisions you can.
There's
do
probably a
that.
few things that need to be updated in here. I haven't reviewed it a lot lately.
And it's interesting because some of the documents require town vote, like changes to land use.
Right,
But operating documents like subdivision regs
right.
can be changed by the board with a public hearing.
As can the site plan review regulations.
Yes.
As can the rules of procedure.
So there's a whole host of documents the board controls. You decide what you want to do, change it, you have a public hearing, we're going to do it, and then vote on it, and you get the town clerk to sign off on it. It's only the land use that have to go to
Okay.
the town meeting.
What is it, March 12th this year?
Second Tuesday.
I'll be working that day.
So, Rich, here's an example. It says, there's a section in the site plan review called definitions,
Yes.
and it says, the definitions found in the Brookfield subdivision regs and zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
That's a place where we should add, if it's not defined there, you go with the state definition.
Yes, we can control that.
But we could change that language
Yes.
ourselves, we wouldn't have to go to a vote.
So if that's at this point, I'm gonna try to set up a meeting with the lawyer and I'll let everybody know. First, we'll just get a date that we're agreeable with. And if anyone would like to make their way out there, it would be welcome. Sometimes when you go to meetings like this, just being there generates more questions.
Right.
So it's pretty productive.
What does she charge per hour?
I think she's up to $12 an hour.
The government discount?
She likes us.
We have that rate sometimes.
Either 2 1/4 or 2.50.
It's like the Bob Newhart consultation, $5 for psychiatric consultation.
He was fun. So, okay, I think we covered enough of that for today. We're making progress. Any member comments?
On the warrant, I'm going to list the permitted uses that are already in place. What is permitted to the public?
I can't answer that at this point. We need counsel. Any others? Oh, I'll make a comment. Steve Berry joined us today. He is, wants to go to a few meetings and find out if it would interest him to be an alternate on the planning board. And for all of us, if we know anybody, just get the word out that they can come in like Steve did and just sit around for a couple of meetings and, or more, and see if this is something that they want to do, and encourage them to get alternates in the room, because I think we can have 10. That fills the room with people, the public, alternates, listening to all our procedures and everything we do here. So if there is an absent person, someone who has knowledge of what's been going on can sit on the board and make educated decisions.
Phil and Mary also expressed interest.
That would be good. He's expressed interest before. I think he come down
Yeah.
to a few meetings and got busy and kind of drifted away.
I have one other comment.
Yes.
At the back of the master plan,
Right.
we covered this at the last planning board meeting. Yeah,
Yes.
and you guys have this, right?
Yes.
So my expectation is that at our next meeting,
December 2nd.
if everybody's prepared, we could just, focus on the planning board ones or any other questions, and then just get through this like in 10 or 15 minutes. And then this is what's in the master plan, the implementation plan. So how we do against that, we've probably never reviewed it in quite a while. Right. So
Okay.
that would be most helpful.
It's going to be on the agenda.
Perfect.
Okay, here are no more, meeting adjourned.
10:03.
Well done, Chairman.
I got a question.
Meeting is adjourned.
Meeting on.
Yeah, well, it's just a general one. Site planning, does that come with a fee each time?
It certainly comes with a fee the first time, but,
Oh, okay, so when you're talking about adding something in, you would say either, just planning, thing, or site, you put in site planning thing, then anyone coming in has a thought.
they'd have to pay. So just use the verbiage, something a little bit different other than site plan.
It's kind of a.
Because someone, I think Rich brought up, just a planning suggestion.
They could do a consultation maybe.
Right, they can do a consultation,
Yeah.
and in order to prevent somebody that has a site plan review that would contain numerous things, instead of making a big project out of it, if they'll pay for one site plan review, the first one, if there's more links to that, if the planning board can waive the fees.
Okay. Yeah, it's just.
So they're not getting whacked $400 or $500.
Yeah, cautious
Mail
about
it
verbiage.
every single time. Well, that's one thing that came up, the mailings will always be required if there's a site plan review, but that's not one.
December 2nd, meeting will be at 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Not yet.
We welcome you.
December 2nd, next meeting,
Meetings adjourned.
We don't have a.
Meetings adjourned again.
We're working on that.